Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tina Eichenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Here, we dive deep into energy healing, self-care, and the power of mindset to help you break free from old patterns and design a life that feels aligned, vibrant, and authentically you. Each week, we explore the tools, techniques, and real-life experience that guide us toward lasting healing and growth. Because true metamorphosis isn't just about change. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. Now, let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome, Keri, to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Please tell us, so as we were discussing before we hit record, that one of the things that I did that I strongly expressed to my clients is, what is their sleep schedule like? How are they getting sleep? What is their sleep? I mean, there's so many things that encompass getting a restful sleep. It's not just how many hours, it's not just, is it a comfortable sleep? There's a lot that goes into it that we do throughout our day that contributes to whether we're getting adequate sleep or not.
Absolutely.
But take us back to when you decided that you really needed to look more at sleep and how you came about like that becoming a coaching practice.
Sure. So my first business, and the business I'm still in, is I'm a therapist. I've been a therapist for 25 years. And I have, my business, Keri Cooper Holistic Therapy, and I work primarily with teens and college kids. And what I started realizing is that one question kind of gave me a great answer on where they were mentally, which was, how did you sleep last week? And the moment they started telling me, oh, I didn't really sleep well, I was up till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I know that we're going downhill with their mental health. And it's the best predictor. And
Yeah.
it still is. So I knew how important sleep really was. And then I actually wrote 2 books, both of them about foundations of mental health. And each one of the books, I devoted an entire chapter to sleep. So through that, I really started looking at the research on sleep. And, there's so much research about sleep and mental health, sleep and physical health, and it's really the foundation. So much happens when you're sleeping. Your immune system, fires up, your memories get processed, your growth hormones. There's so much that's happening. You're detoxing. So a few other things happened that led me on this journey, which was parents were coming into my office constantly saying, I want to be a better parent. I'm so tired. I'm
Yeah.
so burnt out. I can't show up as my best self. And then we start talking about their sleep, and their sleep was a mess. And it was
Yeah.
constantly, I'm just doing so much. I can't go to sleep at night. Or when I do lay down, I'm just spinning in my thoughts. So I started actually coaching those parents on how to sleep better. Because really, when you look at all of the sleep treatment out there, the best is really more of a cognitive behavioral therapy approach to sleep,
Mhm.
even better than sleep meds, which have their own issues.
Right. Right.
So I started coaching, really parents with sleep. And then I decided, you know what? So many more people need this that I actually went back and got a certification in sleep science coaching and started a whole nother business. And I'm a virtual sleep coach for adults. And I have to tell you that because it's kind of like a structured program, you are normally done within 4 sessions and sleeping a whole lot better. And it is life changing.
It really is. It really is. When I was looking at my how I was sleeping, when I was looking to, because I started with using energy work to get rid of the energetic side of anxiety and depression, because for me, talk therapy and medication were not working, and so that was what came up for me to use. But beyond that, I didn't have a self-care practice, and sleep was one of the first things that I really looked at, because I knew that sleep would help with me physically. It would help with me mentally. So it was kind of, like you said, it was the foundation of everything. Sleep is so restorative. However, if you're not doing things during the day, like limiting caffeine or getting exercise in or limiting your screen time, that can interrupt that restorative sleep. And so you may be getting, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, but it's really not all that restorative because of all of the other things that you are doing during the day.
Absolutely. Our daytime activities really impact our sleep.
They
So
do.
although there's always those sleep tips out there, and they're good sleep tips about, have a dark room, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, there's more to it than that. It's
Absolutely.
also all day long. And it's also about your relationship that you're developing with sleep.
Hmm.
Are you approaching sleep like a battle? Because that's only going to drive up your anxiety.
Right.
Or are you taking a better approach as to, all right, let me see what happens. Let me try this. Let me try that. And whatever happens, like, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be okay. And to kind of go more on a journey with your sleep.
Hmm. Yeah. So where do you suggest when somebody comes to you,
Hmm.
what is the most common story that you hear as to why they're not getting enough sleep?
I hear two things, which are really the most common one. One is they don't prioritize it, that they're too busy during their day to prioritize sleep at night. And that's when, having a therapy background comes in really useful to be able to start talking about that and, maybe why they're being such a people pleaser or why they can't say no and to kind of restructure their day to day
Hmm.
because you can only fit so much into your day. And the
Right.
other issue is actually when you're well rested, you're going to be able to accomplish more the next day. So if you have 10 tasks that are taking you all day long and you're not sleeping well because you're up late doing them, if you actually start sleeping well, you'll be able to do those 10 tasks no problem the next day.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. I say that all the time around finals for my college kids. I'm like, you need to sleep to be able to remember everything you just studied.
Right. And being in college and high school, it's incredibly difficult to keep a sleep schedule when you have, I mean, I can remember when my kids were in school and my kids were not in a lot of sports or a lot of extracurricular activities, but a lot of their friends were. And they would have practice for sports or whatever until 8, 9 o'clock at night, which means they weren't getting home until maybe 9:30, 10, and they still had homework to do. So they weren't getting to bed until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, having to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to turn around and do it all over again.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think it's our responsibility as parents to model what a good sleep schedule looks like, but also learn to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing all of these activities because you're not going to bed at a reasonable hour and your grades are going to start to slip, the other things are going to happen, but more importantly, it does affect our mental health.
Yes. We need to learn to prioritize that sleep. And yes, when people are coming to me anxious, depressed, it's like, well, how are you sleeping at night? And it's so funny because as adults, when toddlers miss their nap and they're cranky and they're fussy and they're melting down over, the smallest things, as adults, we're so quick to be like, oh, well, they missed their nap. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, 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 we get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when our teens are melting down,
Yeah.
or even us as adults, when we're melting down, we don't automatically think like, "Oh, they haven't slept enough." But so
Yeah.
often that's what it is.
Right. And we're so conditioned to, I still think that as adults we should have recess time and nap time.
Yeah, definitely. That helps so much.
15 minutes, what is it for an 8-hour shift? You get 15-minute break twice a day and then a half-hour lunch. Like that's not enough.
No, it's not.
I'm not sure if it was Ford who came up with the breaks, but I know he came up with the 40-hour work week. But let's go back to 20 and focus a little
Mhm.
more on what we can do to strengthen our mental health, to strengthen those things within us that will then help us to get more achieved within that 20 hour period. Just putting that change order in.
Yes, yes, you're so much more productive,
Yeah,
you
they
know?
really are. Um, so what are the first steps that you take someone through when looking at, like, what should people look for when they're looking to adjust their sleep schedule to something that's more compatible to their mental health.
Right. So also, I know you asked me the question, I only half answered it when I said people are coming because, they're not prioritizing, but it's also because they're spinning at night and they're anxiety ridden about going to sleep. And that comes into the relationship that we develop with sleep. And if you, look at TV, any ads, there's so many sleep medications out there.
There
And
are.
I mean, it's through the roof. There's clearly a sleep problem in this country. And then there's also so many ways of tracking your sleep. Like you're battling your sleep every night. Like, did I get my 8 hours? Like, check it off. Like, it can't be a battle because it's going to create anxiety.
Yeah.
So that's where the cognitive behavioral piece comes in. So when people come to meet with me, the first thing I do before I even meet with them is they fill out a lot of paperwork. I want to know a lot about their sleep, their patterns, their routines, what they're doing during the day, how they're feeling. So that's where I kind of start with everything and look for anything that needs to be easily fixed
Hmm.
because the easy fixes are easy. And
Right.
then we look at the bigger piece of, are you battling your sleep? How do we start changing your relationship with sleep? Are you not able to prioritize it? How do we start changing that throughout your day? Is it just challenging for you? Okay, what else can we do throughout our day to get you actually tired to go to bed at night? People think like, well, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But sitting at a desk staring at a computer is not burning energy.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need to burn energy. And that's where I always love January 1st when everyone starts posting about how this is my year. I'm going to start, eating well and going to the gym. And I always want to comment, what about sleep?
Yeah.
Because you cannot get healthy without the sleep.
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
going
You,
to
you,
eat well
yeah,
if
you
you
can't.
don't sleep enough, because that's
Exactly.
actually when your hormones, where all of that good stuff is happening in terms of I'm full, I need food. That's all happening when you
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
You're not going to have energy to go to the gym if you're not sleeping.
Exactly. Yeah, I can remember, and there are times I still do it where I will go and grab a snack because it's 6 o'clock in the evening and I'm tired and I could actually go to bed. But if I know if I go to bed, I'm going to get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
which is then going to throw off my sleep
Mhm.
going forward. But I'll go and grab a sugary snack to help wake me up. And then again, you get into that habit of not eating healthy because you're doing things to help keep you awake when you really should be maybe taking a 20-minute cat nap,
Mhm. Or
um,
going for a walk for 10
or
minutes.
going for a walk. Yeah, just doing something else other than reaching for those unhealthy snacks or that cup of coffee that's going to help to kind of pick you up.
And that's a whole nother issue we have. I mean, just look at the numerous like coffee places we have all over. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's 3 o'clock. I'm tired. I need another pick me up. And what happens is then your blood sugar is just, it's up, it's down, it's up,
Mhm.
it's down, you're crashing. And our kids are doing this too. And then that's when you see so much moodiness.
Yeah.
They're coming off sugar highs.
Yep.
And then when you have all of the sugar and caffeine in your system, you're not going to sleep at night. If you are eating late dinners, when you are sleeping, you're going to be digesting instead of your body doing all the functions it needs to actually do when you're sleeping.
Hmm.
And then a lot of people, a lot of adults, let's be honest here, who will drink coffee throughout the whole day, will then start drinking wine at dinner time, thinking this will help me go to sleep.
Right. Right.
Which, one, it's not a restful sleep. Two, your body is now processing out the alcohol and the sugars from the wine. So again, it's not getting the restful sleep it needs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing the different things that interrupt our sleep, that just interrupt our sleep during the day.
Hmm.
Um, I came off of coffee in December, um, and I have noticed a difference in my sleep. And
Yeah.
I haven't needed it during the day as a pick me up. And it really wasn't that difficult for me to come off of. But I know for a lot of people, it is definitely a crutch that they can't move away from.
Right. And listen, I'm okay with coffee in the morning with
Yeah.
an appropriate amount. Like let's not say never to anything,
Right. Right.
but it's all about balance.
Right. Right. Don't drink it past like, what is it, like 1, 2 o'clock in the
Right.
afternoon or
Mhm.
something
And
like
I
that.
especially always love the people because we go out to dinner, me and my husband a lot with, other couples, and after dinner, someone's always like, "Oh, let's grab some like, espresso or cappuccino." And I'm like, "How are you sleeping?" And they're like, "Oh, I fall right asleep." I'm like, "There's no way you're getting the sleep you actually need though."
Right. Well, their physical bodies are probably spent.
Yes.
And
So
so
they're
they're closing
crashing.
their eyes, but
Mhm.
they're not having that restful sleep, that rejuvenating sleep that they need in order to continue being healthy going forward. Um, Knowing that what we did 5 years ago is what's really impacting us
Mhm.
now, as far as like how much we drank and
Mhm.
you go, I've heard that we have like this, at least in the energetic world. I don't know about in your world, but we have this sleep bank. And if we deplete that sleep bank, we try to, fill it back up on the weekends. So we might, get 6 hours of sleep Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday night, we're sleeping 10, 12 hours in an effort to. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
So there's a big misconception that you can make up for your sleep on the weekends. You can't. Sleep is something that happens in your body every single day. Every single day, you need to process memories. Every single day, your cells need to detox. Every single day, your chemicals need to, kind of be regrouped. So, no, you cannot catch up on the weekends.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, but everyone thinks that they can. And
yeah. Yeah.
you just,
There's so many. What other myths are there around sleep that people do in an effort to, you know, pick up on their sleep? What else is there that
yeah.
they do that they think actually does help, but it doesn't do anything, or it may even harm us?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is, drinking alcohol at night, thinking that's gonna help them sleep. I think one of the other big issues that people have is that they honestly just don't realize how important the sleep is, especially with their immune system, especially with their growth and their brain development, and not even development, but just keeping your brain active and healthy. We
Hmm.
see so much about dementia and, all these other aging conditions. You need to be sleeping, and not when you hit, like, 80, but, like,
Right.
your whole life.
Right.
So I think people don't realize how it really does impact us. It impacts our entire life. And, I do a lot of corporate talks because at work, sometimes people forget that if your employees are not focused, if they're not well rested, they're going to make mistakes.
Hmm.
They're going to come out
Absolutely.
sick and they're not going to be productive, and you are losing money.
Absolutely. I worked at a rental company. We rented heavy machinery.
Mm,
And there were several times when the guys would, run into something or drop a tool on their foot or something like that. And 9 times out of 10, it was because they had either worked a job the night before or they were up late with a kid or something. But yeah, they just didn't get adequate sleep. And it really does mess with your entire day.
it does. They say, I don't know who this is, but someone says that driving while really tired is really no different than driving while intoxicated.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know where
Yeah, I
that
can
came from, but it
remember.
came from somewhere
Yeah,
and
I
it's
can
all over the
remember
place.
many of
But it makes
nights.
sense.
It
It makes
does.
sense. Your
It does.
reaction times are different. Your
Yep,
judgment is different.
yep,
Absolutely.
yep. I actually had to have my doctor write me a letter of medical necessity to work from home 3 days a week after I moved an hour away from work because I was just getting so tired by Thursday driving home that I could not. It was not safe for me to continue driving.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a hazard.
And luckily that all worked out, but I can absolutely see. I mean, there's people are falling asleep at the wheel all the time who have just regular 9 to 5 jobs, but
Mhm.
it's the other stuff on top of that, right? We're supposed to work 8 hours and then you get home, let's say, you get home around 6 o'clock, then you have to make dinner, help with homework. And by the time you get all that done, it's, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then you want to wind down so that so yeah, so there's just not enough hours in the day to to get enough sleep for most people, or at least that's what they think.
That's what they think. But I
That's
will
what they
tell
think.
you, I have 2 businesses, I have 4 children, and I get a lot done and I go to sleep.
Yeah,
You can do it, but a
you
lot
can.
of it is also about just when you start with the building block of sleep, everything else is easier then. You're just able
It
to be
is.
more productive during the day. You're
It
able
is.
to get more stuff done because you're not dragging.
Well, not
So
only
I
that, but
get
you
up in the
become
morning.
healthier too.
Yeah, absolutely. I get up in the morning, I work out, I start my day, and I go, go, go. And then I am done by 5 o'clock. Like, here's dinner, and we're sitting down, and
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's nice then to have that time with your children too.
Absolutely. Now, how have you been able to, I don't want to say train, but we do train our children.
We do.
Have you been able to train your kids to get adequate sleep, or do they fight you on it?
So they don't fight me on it because it's just such the norm in my household. My
Okay.
kids have always seen it's like, all right, I'm going to bed, and like we go to bed.
Right.
They see that my phone is not in my bedroom at night. None of my kids' phones are in their bedroom at night. One sometimes sneaks it a lot, but my other ones are all very good with it. But the phones are not supposed to be in the bedroom at night. No, like none of my kids have TVs in their room at nighttime.
Yeah. My
Uh,
husband and I don't.
yeah. So they see that I prioritize it. And it was funny, actually. A few years ago, my daughter came home from a sleepover and she goes, Mom, her mom was up at 3 in the morning doing laundry.
Mm,
Like, that's so weird. I was like, right, right. That is
yeah.
not
That is
normal.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's amazing how many of my friends actually don't sleep, and we've had conversations about it, and they are doing laundry or, dishes or whatever else. So my children just have grown up in this environment where, because me and my husband really both prioritize our sleep, they just know this is what we do. We
Yeah.
just go to sleep.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I trained my kids early when they were little. I always put them to bed early because like I wanted to go to bed early.
Mhm.
Now my sleep problems were mostly from the coffee, the alcohol,
Yeah.
smoking, unhealthy things that I was doing during the day. So I wasn't getting restorative sleep. But even now, my kids being 28 and the twins being 25, they still go to bed by like 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
which is amazing to me because they've never been that partying group. They do put more emphasis on getting a good night's sleep because they do understand that if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm gonna have to pay for it tomorrow.
Right. But it's, anything that you model, like we also model really healthy eating. Like I cook dinner every single night, and it's, a healthy meal. And that's also how my kids' taste buds have developed.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but again, I'm able to cook these meals and to meal plan because I have time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
What else can you share with the listeners on how they can get started on taking a look at their own sleep pattern, their own sleep
I think
process?
one of the first thing is to get honest with it. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I sleep fine. Start tracking it.
Yeah.
Start tracking it just to notice how much sleep are you getting? What time are you going to bed? What time are you getting up? And how do you feel? Do you feel tired throughout the day?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things, is just to be honest with yourself about it. Um, because it really is such an underlying issue to physical issues that are happening, to sicknesses, to a lot of mental health issues. So once you're aware that there's a problem, then you can actually start working on it. But I think the awareness has to be there. And I think a lot of people are in denial until it's so bad that they
Yeah.
have such insomnia.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so first is awareness.
Hmm.
So they've made their, how many nights do you think that they need to do this like a sleep diary? Like 7?
At least 7.
At
Yeah.
least 7?
Mhm.
Awesome. Um, and
And I would
then
also ask yourself some good questions, such as, am I hitting snooze in the morning?
now do you have a sleep diary that they can download? I didn't look at your website, so I'm not sure.
So I don't on my website. When someone starts working with me, yes, we have all
Okay.
of those things. But really, just track it. Just write what time am I waking up? What time am I going to sleep? How do I feel when I wake up in the morning? It's very easy. And also, am I hitting snooze? Do I need an alarm to wake up? Really, the goal is that if you're in a good routine and
Hmm.
you're getting good sleep, you
Yeah.
shouldn't even need an alarm to wake up.
Yeah. I typically, my husband's alarm is set for 5. I get up at 10 to 5. Like my alarm, I automatically wake
Yeah.
up before the alarm, but I still have that teenage belief in me going, "Ugh, I still have 10 more minutes."
Right. But
But
your
yeah,
body really does get into this rhythm.
it does.
And it's like, oh, it's wake time. Oh, it's sleep time. And when your body knows,
Yeah.
that's the key.
Yeah, my friends are so funny when we're hanging out and it's like 10 o'clock. They're all like, Tina's still awake. I'm like, yeah, but she really doesn't want to be.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, when we go out, we are normally it's like a big joke in my family, we are always the first family to leave, and
Yeah,
we have been
yeah,
since my kids were very, very young.
yeah,
It's like just a joke that we always have, but even when, I go out with other couples or friends, like, I am the first one to leave, and I'm completely okay with that. I don't need to sit for hours and hours and hours.
right.
I'll go out, enjoy, be social, and then I go home and go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this isn't saying that you don't ever stay up past your bedtime,
Of
because there are
course.
those moments when you have events to go to and you do stay up past, and you just take care of yourself the following day so that you can still help your body to get that renewal that it needs by giving yourself grace and allowing yourself not to push through being tired over the weekend.
Right. And again, the one off of not sleeping is perfectly fine. And
Yeah,
that's also normal.
right,
If you
right.
get one bad night of sleep, it's okay.
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
right. It's when
Don't
it
call
runs
me for
into,
that.
right, when it
Like
runs into 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, that's when you really
yeah.
have to stop and go, what is going on? What is
Mm.
interrupting my sleep cycle?
When you feel like you're dragging every day,
Yeah,
there is a problem.
yeah,
And also, if you are a parent, make sure you're modeling this behavior for your kids.
100%.
It's so important because I know parents are kind of, especially what I see, parents are kind of all over the kids about you have to eat well, you have to eat well, you have to eat well, you have to exercise, you have to, get outside. But again, none of that really happens if you're not sleeping.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if you don't have that, if you're not getting however many of hours of sleep, I mean, I know some people say they need 6, some people need 9. It does vary based off
Fluctuates
of your
definitely.
physiology.
Hmm.
But if you don't know how many hours of sleep you need a night, that's
Yeah.
that's the first problem. How many do you need? So yeah, when I would say you really want a good indication, have a staycation for a week and just don't set an alarm. Just let yourself go to bed and get up when your body tells you to, and you'll be amazed at um probably what time you really do need to get up and
Yeah.
what time you really do need to go to sleep.
Mhm.
But you working with teenagers and college students, um their physiology, I know that when my kids were teenagers, my twins were incredibly difficult to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because they had to be to school, I think, by 7:15 or 7:30, something like that. But I had to start waking them up at 6 because they would always go back to sleep.
Yeah, it is really torture that we make our high schoolers go to high school so early, because
Yeah.
it's not normal. It's not within their natural rhythms at all.
Yeah.
Um, Teenagers are really meant to sleep later, and they're meant to get more sleep. It's kind of like the teenage phase is a repeat of your toddler phase with your children, where they really
Mhm.
needed a lot of sleep and even sometimes naps. I'm not normally opposed to a short nap, especially
No.
for the teenagers, because lots of times they just need it, especially with what time they're waking up in the morning. I definitely don't advise for a 2-hour nap, and many of them are doing that, and that's when we start talking about them just avoiding life. But a short nap is very good for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's really torture to get these kids up as early as what they're getting up.
So, what suggestions do you have for parents who are struggling with their teenagers?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, one
college
is,
students, they're kind of, they're kind of on their own.
yeah, and they also start classes later. Their
Yeah.
classes are normally not till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So for your high schoolers, one is to start advocating for a later start time of high school. I know in my area, I'm in northern New Jersey, a lot of high schools have started later because they
Okay.
know the research behind it. So
Right.
one is to advocate for your children. Two is please don't yell at them if they take a 20-minute nap, or at least educate them on naps and say, listen, if you're going to nap, I'm completely fine with that. But if you nap too long, it's going to mess up your sleep cycle. So let's try to keep it under 30 minutes.
Right.
So
Right.
give them that,
Right.
allow that. And although you can't catch up on sleep on the weekends, I mean, there's a reasonable time for your teenagers to get up on weekends, but also don't expect them to get up super early on the weekends. It's
Right.
just unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had another question in my head and it just kind of flew out. Um, what else? I
I
was
think
hoping
one
that
of the
would
things
come
though
that it would come right back.
I really want to drive home though is that there is help out there. Your sleep can improve.
Yeah.
It's normally a pretty quick fix, to be honest with you. Um, but you just need the tools. So, like anything else in life, if you were struggling to do something, you would find the tools to help yourself.
Yeah.
Find the tools to help your sleep. Again, it is
Absolutely.
the biggest foundation for your physical and your mental health. Every doctor should be asking you, how is your sleep? But every doctor should be concerned about your sleep and not just to give you pills for it, but to actually have you fix it on your own.
Thank you. That
Um,
was the question.
yeah,
How do the because we were talking about how there are so many different ways to induce sleep.
mhm.
There's Ambien,
Oh, yeah.
there's Tylenol PM, there's people have used Benadryl, melatonin.
Yep,
There's now, what is it, ZQuil, that
yep, there's
is made by
everything.
NyQuil.
Mhm.
Um, and not only that, but there's a ton of medications that cause sleepiness that are not to induce sleep.
Yeah.
But there was a time when I was having trouble sleeping, and a doctor prescribed me, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically um, a syrup that I had to take, and then I had to wake up like 3 or 4 hours later and take another dose. Um, I can't
That
remember
sounds
what the name of
like torture.
it really was, and it
Yeah.
really did not help me feel rested. And that, I think that was the point I was trying to get to, was that these sleep aids, while they may help you sleep, they do not help you become rested.
Right. And there's also side effects with all of them. And
Yeah,
listen, if there are times and places for sleep meds, you know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
um, but if you're relying on them on a daily basis to sleep, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's an absolute problem. If you're using them short term because of some type of life event or something else is going on, that is
Right.
something completely different.
Right.
But if you are using them long term because this is the only way you know how to get to sleep, there is a better way. And when
Yeah.
people come see me, I don't just tell them to stop taking their meds, but
No,
we work out a
absolutely not.
plan, obviously. But the goal is that you're going to be able to go to sleep and wake up on your own without any of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
And
that is the ultimate goal.
yeah, it's if anyone wanted to improve their life for any type of area, whether it be, their physical health, their mental health, just their overall self-care, you need to start with sleep.
Yeah.
So I have a book, Mental Health Uncensored, 10 Foundations Every Parent Needs to Know, and it talks about the 10 foundations for good mental health. And one of them is sleep as the
Yeah.
foundation. But the other ones, of course, are, healthy eating and water and exercise and
Yep.
some type of meditation. But none of those are really going to be able to work unless you're sleeping.
Right, right. And not only that, but it's funny because a lot of those is what I consider my deliberate self-care.
Yeah.
Because it is what keeps my mental health where I want it, where
Hmm.
I can live a thriving life instead of feeling like I'm surviving through it. Um, and not and yes, that sleep is that foundation, because if you don't have adequate sleep, you can't effectively do all the rest.
No, not at all.
So yeah, sleep is definitely the foundation of that. Keri, thank you so much. Do you have any programs coming up, or is there a program that you'd like to tell the listeners about that you're offering?
Sure. If you go on Sleep Solutions by Keri, I have a ton of information there. I offer really, it's normally a 4 session sleep coaching to get you to sleep better within 30 days. Some people don't even need all 4. Some people need a little bit more, but normally the average is around 4. It really does come together very quickly when you have the tools.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise on sleep. It is definitely, it is definitely it sounds corny, but it is the foundation of life.
Mhm. It
If
is.
if you don't have to take that time to rejuvenate and rejuvenate in a space where you're not doing anything else, you really can't do anything else.
Absolutely.
Thank
So
you so
thank you so
much.
much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.